So we want you leaving here as someone who can do the job and can get the job done because you know the skills. So at the start, it's getting everyone to the same level where you're introduced to all these topics. So you can see that we've got gym instruction. You're instructed in how to exercise individuals. You're qualified in that as well. So we give you reps level training, which means you can have level 1 all the way through to level 4 as you go through the course. So as a first year, have you exercised someone? Yes. Could you tell them how to use this equipment safely? Yes, I could. And as a third year, that's already been built on because you know that, you've qualified in that. Now you're going to take your client through a series of exercises to rehabilitate the injury they've got. So it all hinges on, I knew what gym equipment was like, how to tell them to exercise and to build it forward. So you've now come into your sports therapy gym instruction class. You have no idea how to use gym equipment, or maybe you do, but you've learnt bad habits, or maybe ones that we think you need to just develop. So you would be tasked with split into groups, maybe groups of 3. You'll have to each give each other some exercise on, let's say, chest press, treadmill, steppers, and we would then work through a practical scenario where you'll need to do 7 exercises in this 1-hour period. You'll need to work yourself around and demonstrate to us, tell me why is it on this load? What movements will you be doing? What should you be looking out for? So it's a bit more than just, oh yeah, you put the put in, do this, and for a while. What muscle group are you doing? How could you work that differently? So it's looking at different strategies to knowing that you can take someone through basic exercise at year 1. Into year 2, you can apply training, and in year 3, you could use it for rehabilitation. So imagine if I've got a shoulder injury, what wouldn't you want me doing? Or if you wanted me to do developmental work, I'd pick up dumbbells, I might be doing a fly to improve my shoulders, to stop me from being desk bound, to move my shoulders back, and to work my shoulder muscles. But maybe you could think of other ways. I don't have any dumbbells at home, what could I use? Maybe I could use some elastic cables and tie them to a doorpost. Or maybe I want to go extra and I want to go with the TRX system. I've seen it on TV and I'd love to use this system. So I want to be dangling from the ceiling. So we have, I think, 8 TRX systems here. They're set up, and we have TRX training, which is how do you suspend yourself, use body weight to do the work. It's different equipment comes out, so we need to be on top of it, and you need to know about it when you leave here, so that you can say, yep, power plate is good, but a vibration platform can't be used by certain patients. If you've had the lens in your eye replaced, you can't use it. You may have implants, which it's a contraindication, so students need to know that a little bit more than just the gym user. So this has an added advantage in that when it's not being used for teaching or for research, our students get to use it. It's their gym. So we have our own gym for students to pay membership and staff, but it's a free gym. Nobody else can use it. Sports therapy students use it only. And if you noticed on the door, there are some times. So when the timetable is set up, since you were a year 1 student, you learned how to use a gym. You learned how to supervise gym work. So as a second year, you supervise first years doing it. You need hours to say, I've done so many hours as a gym supervisor. That's what happens. So our students supervise the gym. They will be on hand. They have a rota system where they do their hours, so they can say, I've done gym level training. I didn't just learn it, I've actually got my hours. I've done 160 hours gym supervision. That's signed off. That takes you to the next level of your qualification. So you get reps level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up. So you can leave here and say, I want to go into personal training, strength and conditioning. You've already got those hours, so you're adding to it as you go through the course. But it helps us as well because they're autonomous, they're trusted to look after the gym, look after the health and safety of people in here, and to make sure the place doesn't get trashed or people get injured. That's responsibility at level 2 and level 3. So it's building those skills. So it works well for us, and the students get a great facility that nobody else can use. And normally, I think we have 6 or 7 people, if that. So it's private facilities inside of teaching time. So normally in the evenings, about between 5 and 6, put the music on, off you go. It's not going to disturb anyone. People downstairs don't moan anymore when we drop the weights because they've usually gone home. So it's a good facility for teaching, research, and for student usage. And you're going to have your practical exam. So the end of term practical exam is coming up. Hope you've done your revision and that you're on it. My qualification, I'm a physiologist, so this is the physiology room, so these are my toys in particular. Now, one of the labs, so you've just had your lab on strength. The next lab that you're going to have, so next week I've said that the second years are doing work with VO2 max testing, which is the way you measure someone's aerobic fitness. So we have a device which the students are currently using in another lab downstairs, which is brought up here. I'll wear a face mask and I'll run on a treadmill. And I'll keep running until I can't run any faster or I've been pushed too hard. That will measure my maximum oxygen uptake. So the system we would use a treadmill here, or we can use a bike, or we can use a rower. You can test that anywhere. But that's a standard elite test. So you're looking at normally about £150 for that test if you go out professionally. You can have it done as a medical test and monitor your heart and its system. So you can measure how my heart's performing, and it's a clinical test. So we look to exercise and health. So our students learn both of those. So if you had a blood pressure problem or a cardiac problem, our third years have currently done work on that. They did labs where we looked at cardiac stress testing, looking at the type of test they would expect to see from a cardiac patient before that patient is then given to them to do exercise. So it's not all about elite athletes, but it is also about health. So we have to learn both of those. So if I've got heart disease and I'm recommended by my GP to come and see you all as therapists, what exercises will you give me? So as a third year, you need to now know, okay, I would do this. I would have you on the treadmill. I would do this work I can't do because it will affect your blood pressure. This will make you feel faint. So the third years are currently doing applied work. They know the theory from year one. They know the anatomy. They know how to use the equipment. They can train people. In year two, they learnt about what does endurance work do to someone. But as third years, they're now given challenges. We give them a case study, which is a client set of data with pieces missing. And a week later, they will turn up and do a practical with us. It's on Friday this week, and we will put them through the paces and say, so what do we do here? What are the side effects? What does this medication do? So they need to know the medication the patient's on, what are the side effects, what to look out for, because they've done the research to bring it to the practical, to show us, and then we help them get to that knowledge. So as third years, it's not a case of, let's all stand here, I'll tell you what to do, and you write it down and go away. You've got to come with that knowledge and find it out, because when you leave here, that's what you've got to do. You may see a new piece of equipment. Does it work? How does it work? So you need to make those decisions. You've got to find the research rather than just copying someone who's done it before, because you're responsible for that patient or that athlete. So this is a non-standard treadmill. It's got a safety cage for a reason. This isn't for bad students. This is simply a safety harness that's attached onto here. I'd wear a safety harness and I'd run away nicely. If I happen to slip, oops, or I fall off the back, this will cut the motor and it'll protect me. So it's giving you a clue that it's a little bit different from a normal treadmill. This will go up to 40 kilometers an hour. So you're looking at racehorse territory. So it'll go from 0 to any one of those speeds very quickly, so fast that it will actually feel like the rug's been pulled from under you. A standard treadmill in a gym goes to 25 kilometers an hour. If you're lucky, it still does that, because the motor has to be strong enough. And if you incline that and put a heavy athlete on it, that's probably working, that motor is probably working at about 18 kilometers an hour, not 20 or 25. This one, for scientific use, when it says 20 kilometers, it needs to be 20. An elite athlete will run. Paula Ratcliffe ran the marathon at 21 kilometers an hour constant, an average pace. So most athletes, when you put them on here, they're at speeds that most machines don't handle. So you need to be able to work them much faster. So we can do overspeed work. We can look at putting them on this and working high-speed treadmills. A way of getting someone faster, make them run downhill is one way. I run quickly, my legs are carrying me quickly. It's pretty easy. Or you can tie a rope around me, tie it onto the back of a motorbike, and drive off around the track, which is something that is done. And you run a bit quicker, There'll come a point though when that's going a little bit too quick for your feet, and if you're not lucky, you're skiing on your teeth on the track. So it's not a system. They have brake cords that hopefully brake, but this is a better way of doing overspeed. So you can make me run for 10 seconds at 28 kilometers an hour, which is too fast for me, but I can do it very quickly and then get off. Back on again, back off, on, off, and then hopefully you've sped up my motor system. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is saying, okay, I'm going to give you a different machine, and this one's got no engine. That's got a motor, you've got to keep up with it. This one is what's called a non-motorised treadmill. So this one, if I don't move, it doesn't move. So I can go backwards or forwards. So if I wear a belt and then I start to run on it, so technically it's a mobile sprint track. So it's a non-motorised treadmill. The faster I sprint, the faster it goes. And I can put the brakes on it to make it more difficult, the equivalent of pulling a sled or pulling weights. So this is a standard system now that's used in training, say rugby, football, particularly in rugby, where you'll program it, you get on it, and you will have to hammer out. Some of you have seen the new curved ones. They do a curved version, which means you don't need to wear the weight, the harness. But this piece here measures the force I'm pulling at, so it tells you how fast or hard I'm pulling. So we can do aerobic, we can do anaerobic. So when we do sprint projects, we simulate pieces here. So we've had some projects where students have simulated 90 minutes of football. So we have an audio system that says run, walk, stop, walk, sprint, sprint, run, walk, stop. And that's matched to the duration and activities in a football game. And then we looked at pushing them for an extra time, giving them an extra 10 minutes to see how the muscles fatigued. So we can simulate a whole football scenario, and that's an established research tool. So we try and use whatever we need. So you've got 20 students in here, blood pressure 1 week, cardiac systems the next week, breathing systems, it all varies. So we can rotate around those sort of systems. So that's this room, my toys. Get them in a headlock. So if you will it stay? So this is the more professional clinic side of us that the outside world see, and the students are here to manage that clinic, gaining extra hours of experience, but with supervised work. So I've learnt it, I've applied it, and now I'm actually putting it into context. Off from the days, choose well, and maybe I'll see you next year or the year after.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome, folks. Thank you.